No IDF strike was conducted towards the aid convoy. I want to repeat that. No IDF strike was conducted towards the aid convoy. On the contrary, the IDF was there conducting a humanitarian operation to secure the humanitarian corridor and allow the aid convoy to reach its designated distribution point. This humanitarian aid came from Egypt, went through a security screening at the Kerem Shalom humanitarian crossing in Israel, and then entered Gaza for distribution by private contractors. As these vital humanitarian supplies were making their way towards Gazans in need, thousands of Gazans dispensed upon the trucks. Some began violently pushing and even trampling other Gazans to death, looting the humanitarian supplies. The unfortunate incident resulted in dozens of Gazans killed and injured. At 4:40 a.m., the first aid truck in the humanitarian convoy started making its way through the humanitarian corridor that we were securing. Yes, the IDF was securing the humanitarian corridor so that the aid convoy could reach its destination in northern Gaza. Our tanks were there to secure the humanitarian corridor for the aid convoy. Our UAVs were there in the air to give our forces a clear picture from above during this humanitarian operation. As you can see in this video, the tanks that were there to secure the convoy sees the Gazans being trampled and cautiously tries to disperse the mob with a few warning shots. When the hundreds became thousands and things got out of hand, the tank commander decided to retreat to avoid harm to the thousands of Gazans that were there.
Well, that's why there are two Al Jazeera correspondents. There's always a backup in case of public sources. The investigation remains ongoing. OIOS will seek and to corroborate additional information and to compare the information obtained with the materials held by Israeli authorities, which OIOS expects to receive shortly. OIOS staff are planning to visit Israel soon to obtain information from Israeli authorities that may be relevant to the investigation. Cooperation with OIOS investigators by member state has thus far been adequate.
Thank you, Steph. You just said, well, as a follow-up,
to us as requested by the Security Council Resolution 2699. With you, yesterday, the Secretary General received an update from the Office of Internal Oversight Services, OIOS, on their work regarding the allegations put forward by Israel that 12 UNRWA staff members in Gaza were involved in the terror attacks of 7 October. I can tell you that OIOS began its work on January 29th, the same day the Secretary General tasked the unit with this effort. So far, OIOS investigators have reviewed the initial information received by UNRWA from Israeli authorities. They've also been in communication with other member states to obtain any information relevant to the investigation. OIOS investigators have also been to UNRWA headquarters in Amman in Jordan to obtain and review information held by UNRWA that is relevant to the investigation, including on UNRWA staff and UNRWA operations. They have also reviewed information and communications technology data held by the agency, including email records and information on UNRWA vehicles, review of information received from various sources, including that released through the media and other public sources. The investigation remains on. Yeah.
At this point, what more can you do now that you've called for a ceasefire to urge Israel to stop?
Indeed, we have called for a ceasefire. When it comes to what happened in Gaza today, you've heard me. I must say, I think this is a nightmare. I think the violence must stop. I think civilians can not be targeted. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that international aid is sent into Gaza and that people are protected when they go and get that aid that they need to survive. So we are calling for both parties to respect the International Court of Justice decision, and at all times, international humanitarian law must be respected.
Do you believe that Israel is targeting civilians at this point?
More than 100 Palestinians are reported to have been killed and many more injured. I first of all want to express the United States' deepest condolences to the families of those who died. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed over the course of this conflict, not just today, but over the past nearly 5 months. We are urgently seeking additional information on exactly what took place. We have been in touch with the Israeli government since early this morning and understand that an investigation is underway. We will be monitoring that investigation closely and pressing for answers. If there's anything that the aerial footage of today's incident makes clear, it is just how desperate the situation on the ground is. People need more food. They need more water. They need medicine and other humanitarian goods, and they need it now. Our understanding is that there was a commercial convoy delivering humanitarian assistance, that there were no UN agencies involved. They were delivering assistance, and then beyond that, we have seen obviously conflicting reports. We've seen the reports from the government of Israel. We've seen accounts from local Palestinians who were on the scene. We don't have ground truth on what happened. We have been pushing for an opening of a crossing in northern Gaza is because we know that the situation there is incredibly dire. Even when you've had assistance flowing, not enough assistance flowing ever, but certainly over the past few weeks, not enough assistance flowing in the south, at least there has been assistance getting in. The situation in the north has been much more difficult because of the difficulty of trucks traveling all the way from the south to the north and the difficulty of guarding those trucks, which I think is one of the things that we saw today. We were in touch at senior levels with the government of Israel early this morning, U.S. time. Obviously, Israel is 7 hours ahead of us, so by the time we woke up here, people in Israel in the embassy were already in touch, and those contacts were followed up by people here in the State Department pushing for answers and we're told that there's an investigation. We'll look to see what the results of that investigation yield and what further measures, if any, are appropriate. I will speak on behalf of the United States and say that the Secretary has made clear directly in conversations with Israeli government partners, and as have others in the United States government, that we want to see a crossing open in the north as soon as possible. And where we are today is that we have said we cannot support an operation in Rafah unless there is a credible and executable plan to deal with the more than 1 million civilians who are sheltering there. And we have not yet seen such a plan. We haven't been briefed on such a plan, and we can't support it until we see that plan. And so to speculate about what may happen down the road, I, of course, can't do. I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'll take it one step at a time and say right now there's not a plan in place that we have seen that we can endorse. I will say whatever the exact number is of civilians that have been killed, it is far too high, which is what you heard me addressing a moment ago, and which is why we continue to try to perceive a temporary ceasefire that would alleviate that suffering.
عليك يا بلال والله ذكرتني بالبطارية والباور لقيت محمد بطارية بتجيب منها
هاي الصحراء שלום לך. שלום. 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 שלום, שלום לכולכם. אנחנו צריכים לדאוג שזה לעולם לא יחזור. זה מחייב מה שכל אחד ואחד מכם מבקש. פשוט להמשיך עד הסוף. עד הסוף. ואני פשוט גאה בנחישות שלכם. לא פשוט. מצד שני כן פשוט. פשוט להמשיך עד הסוף. ואני מצדיע לכם. מצדיע לכם. ככה. תודה לכם. לא מפסיקים. כל מי שמדבר על להפסיק, אין. לא מפסיקים. מלחמה נמשכת עד הסוף.
עד הסוף.
עד שגומרים אותם. לא פחות מזה. ואני יודע שעזבתם משפחות ושהמשפחות תומכות, זה דבר אדיר. וזה הכוח, זה המפתח לניצחון.
גם השארנו פה שני חברים שלנו.
אני יודע, לא מעט. וחברים יקרים. בשביל זה אנחנו ממשיכים. הצבא היא להמשיך.
תודה רבה.
תודה לך. תודה. תודה לך. תודה לך. איפה המפקד? מח"ט. מח"ט. תודה לך. תודה. תודה רבה, חבר'ה. תודה רבה. תודה רבה.